Hello everyone and welcome back. Let us start by summarizing what we learned from our last 4 sessions. In the first session, we understood about the diksha platform and the role of teachers as content creators and content distributors. In the second session, we discussed macaulay system and its one major drawback of pinkerton syndrome. Later, we moved on to explore Finland education system, which starts education to children through gratitude. Later, in the third session, we found answers to why to learn and also explored how to learn with 6 methodologies of learning in pramanas: Pratyaksha, anumana, upamana, artha, patti, anupladbhi, and finally shabdha. In the fourth session, that is in our last session, we went through the evolution of education, which started with dhruva and was made available to everyone by the efforts of bhagiratha through ganga. And our next part is the exploration of this learning path through the 5 prayags of Ganga. Before we continue our exploration, I want to point out that the ultimate goal of our exploration of this huge learning path is to impart wisdom in children. Do you know who represents wisdom? It is represented by an entity called Brihaspati. Who is Brihaspati? Well, it is nothing but the planet Jupiter in our solar system. Our ancestors thousands of years ago knew about this planet and it was used to represent wisdom. You may ask, out of 9 planets, why only Brihaspati was chosen for wisdom? The answer is, it is the largest planet in the universe. And hence, wisdom or knowledge was symbolized with the largest celestial body of our solar system, which is Jupiter. And our ancestors called it as Brihaspati. Well, all this is documented in our Vedic manuscript thousands and thousands of years ago, long before Galileo rediscovered it in 1610. Now, another important factor in learning is assessment of students. Learning should never be an one-way process. Every information conveyed to the student has to be tested to see how much of that information the student is able to grab it in his memory. In today's system, we all have an annual exam or assessment every year to find out the progress of the students. Finally, we have 2 major exams, one in the 10th and one in the 12th standard, that is the PUC exam, where the students of all colleges and schools are asked to answer a common question paper and their progress is assessed all over the nation. Now, who introduced this exam or assessment system? Well, the generally available answer is it all started with macaulay system of education and it all came from the Western world. But when we explore our manuscript and our land history, we can know that the exams we follow today was not started in 18th century by the Westerners, but it existed in India thousands of years ago and it is clearly documented in our Vedic manuscripts. In our ancient learning system, just like SLC and PUC, there were public exams held to every student on this universe and this used to happen every 12 years once. Why 12 years? The reason is because the planet that represents knowledge or wisdom is Jupiter, Brihaspati, and this Jupiter takes 12 years to complete one cycle around the sun. So thousands of years back, all learned scholars with their entire student used to arrive at the bank of Ganga for a public exam. And do you know the name of this assessment carried out in our ancient culture? This is what we call as Kumbh Mela. Kumbh Mela will be held at the Sangam of Ganga at 4 places: Prayagraj, Haridwar, Nasik and Ujjaini. It is considered as the world's biggest congregation of people till today. It holds the world record for this. When it started, no one exactly knows the date. But this is a system where many scholars and educationists come with their band of students to the Sangam of Ganga and there they share and assess the knowledge of all the participants. Just like in SLC or PUC exams, thousands of individual colleges and schools come together to write a common exam. In Kumbh Mela, many colleges and schools of learning converge at the banks of Ganga to share and demonstrate their learning. What we call as schools and colleges were actually called as akhadas. Currently, even today, there are 13 akhadas and they all join to celebrate learning and wisdom they have gained over years of their education. So our ancestor knew the solar system largest planet is Jupiter and they called it Brihaspati, and it was used to represent knowledge or wisdom. They knew it takes 12 years to complete one cycle for Jupiter around the sun, and they celebrated this as Kumbh Mela, a public exam for all the students and a stage set to showcase the talent and wisdom of all learned scholars. All this thousands of years ago, even before Galileo discovered Jupiter on January 7, 1610, and Ola Omer discovered its orbit time as 12 years in 1676. So, these revelations will clearly show you that the learning path and the learning methodologies that we can explore from Ganga and its prayags can change the way we see education system totally. So get ready for a very long ride to explore the beauty of learning and knowledge following the journey of the Ganga. So this is now a tour to explore learning, and before we start our tour, we should know our road plan, where all we are going to go, and this road map of our journey will be as follows. As told before, we will be having 5 major stops in this learning journey, and these stops are VIshnu Prayag, and this stop in our knowledge system we are going to call it as Vignan. The second major stage is Nanda Prayag, and in our knowledge journey this stop will be called as Adarsh. Then the third major stage is the Karna Prayag, and in our learning journey this stop will be called as Mithya. After crossing the Mithya, we then move on to the fourth Prayag, which is the Rudra Prayag. God Rudra, that is Shiva, stands as a pillar here for all the learning system, and we call this stage in learning as Avastambam. And finally, we move on to the last Prayag, which is called as Deva Prayag, and in our learning journey we call this stage as Kushalata. So the 5 Prayags, Vishnu Prayag represents Vignan, Nanda Prayag represents Adarsh, Karna Prayag represents Mithya, Rudra Prayag represents Avastambam, and finally Deva Prayag represents our last stage of exploration of learning, which is Kushalata. Now, if you see the beauty of these 5 Prayags, the main river that Shiva released through Bhagiratha is called as Bhagirathi, which starts its origin from a place called Gomukh. This represents wisdom or knowledge, which is a direct stream coming from the creator of the universe. Whereas you have another main stream which starts from a place called Chaukumba in Himalayas, and that is Alakananda, and it represents we the humans. So wisdom is represented by Bhagirathi and we humans are represented by Alakananda. Bhagirathi could have directly combined with Alakananda, but that cannot happen because we the humans like Alakananda are not prepared to digest the stream of wisdom, and before we can be made eligible to receive this stream, we have to go through a few process of preparations. Hence, Alakananda goes through 4 prayags, combining with various skills and learning methodologies, and only after it completes these 4 prayags, only then it reaches Deva Prayag, and there actually the wisdom coming from God is finally merged with us to make us wise and knowledgeable. So just like a newborn child, our human journey starts from Chaukamba as Alakananda, and then near a village called Mana, this Alakananda combines with a stream of river called as Saraswati. And later in Niti Pass, another stream of river called as Dauli Ganga originates, and the place where this Dauli Ganga and Alakananda with Saraswati meets is called as Vishnu Prayag. So the 3 main streams here are Alakananda representing we the humans born as a child, Saraswati represents our social surroundings. The child once born will start first learning from its mother, parents, its family and the society, and this is represented by Saraswati stream. Later in Vishnu Prayag, this child is exposed to learn from its natural surroundings in which the child comes up, and Dauli Ganga represents the child's land, location or the place where it is going to grow up. To make it more clear, Alakananda is a human born as a child. Saraswati is its social background or the society in which it is born. And Dauli Ganga is the land or the surrounding in which the child is going to grow up. So the convergence of human with its society and the nature is what we call as VIshnu PRAYAG. This convergence creates 18 streams of scientific principles which we are going to explore in this Vijnan stage of learning. So our first stage of learning at VIshnu PRAYAG is Vijnan. This stage of learning makes us understand the exact science behind how our brain works and what is the naturally given capabilities in every human. Vijnan is the science behind our learning, and it is how the brain learns, reacts, stores information, and how we can actually interact with our brain. All these concepts we are going to explore in our first stage of learning Vijnan at VIshnu PRAYAG. We have 18 different concepts to learn here, which is represented by the 18 streams of water that comes and moves out of VIshnu PRAYAG. These 18 streams of concepts that we learn here are as follows. The first is Pratisvara or paryaasa. This concept explains us how we experience our world and how we interact with it in two different stages. Second is Nidravaavasta. Here we will learn all about sleep and how important is sleep in our learning process. Third is Godha Samskara. Here we will understand the techniques we can use to build our brain and make it stronger. Just like we do exercises to make our body and muscles strong, we need some exercises to make our brain strong and powerful. We will explore these exercises in our third stage. Then comes the fourth stream, Pratikriya Angatha. This is the science of reaction from teachers to learners. How we should react and how it affects the students in their learning process. Then the fifth, we come across the biggest demon in our learning process, and this biggest demon or obstacle is Yaapana. Here we are going to understand how to fight and defeat this demon. The sixth stage is the stage of Smriti, which is nothing but memory management. How actually our memory works and the two types of memory we have in our human brain. Seventh is Adhyayan. The two main types of Adhyayan are learning and its scientific effect on our brain. Eighth is Prarana. The science behind motivation and its effect on human brain. Just like we need railway tracks to move a train in the right direction, we need to put up a track in our learning system, and this track is what we call as Prarana. Ninth is Dhrishtam, which is setting up our goals. This is just like a GPS. To start any journey on Google Maps, the first thing we have to do is we have to set our destination. Setting this destination of our learning journey is what we call as Dhrishtam. The 10th is Vibhakti, to understand how our brain solves problems and finds solutions. 11th stream that we are going to explore is Vyayata, which means a kind of time management needed to make our brain perform at optimum levels. The 12th concept is Vibhajan. To climb a huge mountain, we have to divide that mountain into small steps. And how to divide a huge learning concept into small steps is what we are going to explore in this stage. The 13th stream is Athwara Abhyaasana. This deals about the effect of the first type of practice called as repetitive practice on our brain. 14th is Antarik Abhyaasana. This is the second type of practice which we call it as spaced repetition, and we are going to use this to establish our learning into our subconscious mind. The 15th concept is Anusarana, which means habits. What are habits and its scientific importance in learning? The 16th is Sahasa, which means fighting fear. The 17th is Antim, and the 18th concept is Agrasta. So, these are the 18 streams of learning which we have to go through in our first Prayag at VIshnu PRAYAG. And let us start with one by one from our next session. Thank you.